You're in the Business Insurance Zone with me, Steve Savant, national financial columnist and color commentator. Today on The Biz, Marketing Campaign Series. Start the new year out right with marketing campaign specialist and international speaker, Anthony Morris.
When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Well, welcome everyone to a brand new year and to the Business Insurance Zone. We're broadcasting live to a nationwide audience of financial advisors right here in Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of America's largest fountain. And day two, Anthony Morris with Marketing Campaign Strategies. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
If you missed yesterday's show, you need to hop back out to our site at www.brokersalliance.com. As soon as you come to our front page, you'll see the big on-demand red button. Go ahead and click on it and catch Monday's show. I don't want you to miss one of the 10 ideas and sales strategies to start your new year out right. And Anthony, I got to tell you, I'm a little excited about this one on this first segment, and believe you me, I hear a lot of people come in here, and the word excitement coming out of my mouth doesn't happen too often. This is a great idea. I love the phrase, there's gold in gray. I could live on that just all day long because I love the thinking behind it. Let's talk about there's gold in gray. This is one of your great segments.
Well, we know that the most amount of money is held in low-yielding CDs and savings accounts in retail banks in the United States because seniors have an absolute aversion to market volatility. We also know that today's grandchildren believe that there's an ATM machine in the basement that gets magically filled with cash by elves every night. The single biggest chunk of wealth and assets and cash in the history of the world is about to transition to the single most illiterate, financially illiterate generation. I mean, let's face it, the kids of today are still at school being taught long division in the world of the Excel spreadsheet, who needs long division. But they're not being taught financial literacy, entrepreneurship, wealth creation, and how to save. And so Grandpa Bob and Grandma Molly are really terrified of transitioning their wealth to their kids and their grandkids without there being some kind of set of guidelines or rules to bring meaning to their money.
Can I stop you there for a second? Do you think there's a legitimate phobia, a real fear of transferring money too soon to a generation that is so financially illiterate?
Well, our coaching clients are starting to tell us that their high wealth clients are starting to use phrases like, is there any way that I can control my money beyond the grave? Is there any way that I can have some ropes, some chains, or some guidelines so that my kids or grandkids don't just inherit my assets, but there's some set of positive principles or values attached to some milestones which they have to achieve in order to earn the right to my wealth?
Is that an eye-opening issue for clients that they actually can dictate from the grave?
Well, they can.
Part of their will.
Well, they can. And if you go to your attorney and ask them to put together a living trust or a testamentary trust or both, what we call a values trust, a great way to drive that conversation is through the movie available on our website called The Ultimate Gift. The Ultimate Gift is the story of a billionaire, and when he dies, his grandchild thinks he's getting all the money, but he opens up a DVD from Grandpa in the lawyer's office that says, you will become this kind of person. And when you've become this kind of person and proven to the administrators of my estate that you've achieved certain values milestones, then the money will flow like the River Jordan. And it's a wonderful movie to open a conversation about Grandpa George enshrining certain values in his estate plan, with all of the menu choices about how you can actually put this together.
I love that. And in America, we had a movie that came out about a year ago with Clint Eastwood called Gran Torino. And I think they were in shock and awe at the disposition of his estate when all his family thought they were going to get all this money, and that the car, the Gran Torino, went to somebody that wasn't even related to them.
Absolutely.
So no, I totally get that. And again, go out to his site and we'll be able to, what is your site? Just to make sure we have that out there.
AnthonyMorris.ca.
AnthonyMorris.ca. Is that a Canadian punchline?
That's correct.
Okay, CA. Think about that. I mean, those are really good. I love, sometimes you say, I want to explain something to you, but a clip from Gran Torino or The Ultimate Gift could actually bring a lot more closability to a marketing idea. We'll talk a little bit more about, there is so much money in the graying of America, Canada, all the places that you play. Talk a little bit more, how do I implement, this is a great strategy. And thinking the way you're thinking, which I think is very unique and distinctive. And remember, part of being a breakout practice in your community is being distinct. And I think Anthony's bringing to the table some of the distinctiveness of that.
Well, I think one has to use something like the movie which we talked about to be able to open conversation with Grandpa Bob and Grandma Molly, and then to be able to say to them, you know, are you folks on an ISP? Well, Steve, if you ask a client, are you on an ISP, most of them are going to look at you confused. What's an ISP? An inheritance spending plan. Grandpa Bob, are you on an inheritance spending plan, or are you intending to leave a little bit of money behind for your grandkids? Well, why would you wait 20 years to leave $20,000 or $30,000 behind to each one of your grandkids? Why don't you put a whole life permanent life insurance contract on the life of each one of your teenage grandchildren? Buy them the miracle of future insurability. There'll be a cash fund that develops. By the time they're age 35, they can kill student debt, put down the down payment on a home, and you've left behind a real legacy and brought meaning to your money. And you'll be remembered forever by doing that instead of just leaving them with cash. And all one has to do is bring these conversations to the attention of the high wealth seniors, and you find that they start talking to their friends about it. They all travel in packs to the Caribbean, to the beach house, etc. And it's a wonderful way of expanding your work with these people.
Yeah, this is a little unique because everybody's planning for the termination and death of grandmother and grandfather, and we're talking about doing something that they can actually see and put in place today while they're living.
Absolutely, and we know that life insurance rates will only go up long term because of all the demographics in the world, and so it's a wonderful opportunity of leaving behind that legacy.
When I think about there's gold in gray, how can I target that? How do I get to those people?
Well, which we'll be talking about in a future segment, you've got to have ways of meeting those people where they're naturally gathering. Go where money gathers.
I love it because I've noticed, this is a terrible metaphor, but I noticed that vultures go where the food is. And you know, that's where I want to be where the money is.
Absolutely.
And that's what you're talking about. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk more and more. We're going to keep adding all these segments throughout the week. And when we come back, we're going to be talking more about the next segment up, which is going to be huge. It's called Building Multi-Generational Sales Opportunities. And don't forget, you can sign up for IULUniversity.com for the best training, education, and sales support when it comes to life insurance for retirement income.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Did you know the average 401k runs out of money just 7 to 8 years into retirement? Time Magazine, the Wall Street Journal, and many other publications have warned of the difficulty of saving with a 401k. But what if there was a way to create tax-free lifetime retirement income with no stock market risk? Good news, there is.
You know, living in fear of the next market dive is not the way I want to live my life.
Why would I go out there and take on risk when I don't need to?
I have a lot less stress knowing I can't lose any more of my retirement savings in the stock market.
Call now to receive your free, no-obligation analysis of what this retirement vehicle could do for you, a comparison to your current retirement plan, and a free video that explains this exciting opportunity. Start planning a retirement you can enjoy instead of worrying about future tax increases and stock market losses. Creating income that will last your entire life is the most important thing you'll ever do. Take control of your future. Call now for your free analysis, comparison, and video.
Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm Steve Savant with Anthony Morris, and remember, you can order today's giveaways at thebiz@brokersalliance.com. And what are we giving away? We're giving away Conversations for Cash, Anthony's online ebook. Just write me at thebiz@brokersalliance.com and we'll make sure we hook you up. And just a heads up, before moving forward with any of the ideas that we're talking about, because some of this is a little bit advisory and so forth, always consult your tax advisor and your attorney, and if you're FINRA licensed, your broker-dealer compliance department. We're talking about marketing campaign strategies with Anthony Morris, top of the table, MDRT speaker, international speaker. And today, or this segment, we're going to talk about building multi-generational sales opportunities. We kind of touched on this at the front end. Now let's try to unpack this a little bit, Anthony, for our viewers, because I'm sure people are taking some notes like I am. I'm taking notes live here on the stage because there's new language here. And that's another thing, before you get started, you're bringing new language. You're bringing a new linguistic to the sales and marketing tactics that I'm used to. And I kind of find it refreshing.
Well, you know, we've got to start saying to our clients, the difference, Steve, between me and all of the other advisors in Fountain Hills is that in my practice we look after families, not just funds. You know, we've got to start saying, can you tell me something, Steve? What is the expiry date on your parents' financial plan? I feel a moral obligation and fiduciary responsibility to make sure that we pressure test the advice that your parents have been getting so that they don't collapse your own retirement plan when you inherit them because they outlive their money. And this outliving your money issue and taking longevity risk off the table is very real with those 10,000 people turning 65 every year for the next 18 years in North America. The long-term care crisis is here. It's no longer a theory. It's not an academic conversation. It's something you need to equip your clients to cope with, your middle-aged clients who potentially have their retirement threatened by having a medical system that can't necessarily service all of these seniors as we move forward demographically.
Now, when you talk about this longevity issue and covering that off, I think people have come to the determination, as you suggested, even the best managed 401k is not going to be able to be adequate for the basic longevity that we're talking about. Even standard Americans on the 2001 CSO, I mean, that's just standard. And there are people that are going to live longer. I mean, the Guinness Book of World Records, she just died last month at 116. Think about that. And we have dozens of women that are in their 100 and teens. And I just went to a nursing home about a year ago where the predominant amount of people in that nursing home were in their 90s and female.
Well, absolutely. And you know, previous guest Tommy Hegner, a good friend of ours,
Oh, yes.
Speaks to this in terms of building a paycheck and a paycheck to beyond life expectancy. You know, the other side of this, Steve, is that we have a lot of these wealthy seniors who want to leave behind some kind of meaning to their money. They want to enshrine their legacy. The kids of today, if we think about it, are growing up with a different set of values. We're into this instant gratification. I want everything now. I don't necessarily want to have to work for it. I mean, just think of the concept of today's youth having a summer job like you and I had back then to be able to save money towards college and everything else. Let's face it, despite the current speed bump in terms of current recessionary pressures, today's kids have grown up in the top 20% of your client base with enormous abundance. It's the latest Nikes, it's the latest Apple iPhone upgraded every single 24 months. And so a key part of you building multi-generational sales opportunities is to engage your senior clients, age 60, 65 plus, who have another 20 years of life expectancy in the values trust conversation. And the reason you want to do this using that Ultimate Gift movie as the conversation starter is because it puts you in front of the client's accountant and or attorney, who will earn a revenue stream as the carrier of the checkbook of that trust. So, you know, my dad taught me a principle: if you give the other guy what he needs, you always help yourself and be looked after by your universe and your world. So it's a great way to meet accountants and attorneys and to create a set of milestones. Grandpa George puts in the values trust, which he funds with investment money now, life insurance money later on, that any of my kids or grandkids who graduate with a more than a 3-point grade point average from Arizona University can access $20,000 within a week of graduating to kill student debt down payments on your house. Any of my kids or grandkids who get engaged to get married, you will go for 3 months of premarital coaching or counseling with an Arizona accredited premarital coach. And if you can prove to Jones accountants or Smith attorneys that you've done this, you can have $15,000 towards your wedding or honeymoon. Because Grandpa Bob and Grandma Molly don't believe in divorce. Till death do we part. Let's face it, she's got him sleeping in the basement because he snores too loud, but they will not get divorced. Any of my kids or grandkids who don't have an impaired driving conviction between age 16 and age 30, which are the danger years, at the end of the year that you don't have an impaired driving conviction, you can go to Jones Accountants and collect up to $1,500 refund on your car insurance premiums from the previous year, which obviously incentivizes conservative driving behavior. And the excitement that clients have when they sit down, these moneyed clients, with their advisor, their financial representative, their accountants and attorneys, to craft this values trust just opens up explosive conversation, profitable conversation opportunities for the financial representative amongst their niche and their network of friends.
Well, this sounds, I mean, it sounds like major control issues affluent clients have, and they want to make sure that there's some value going to the next generation, and you can dictate this and control a majority of this.
Well, you can technically, because you can make the trust the owner and beneficiary of the policy. Obviously, the surviving trustees, at their discretion, will make these payments to the kids upon them achieving these behavioral or these values milestones. So that's the way that you'd set it up. Obviously, you would check with your own state and provincial regulations and compliance department in terms of setting these structures in place.
This is a huge idea, great concept, and I love the addition of being able to expand my practice and build out my business by talking to fiduciaries who play in this arena. Well, listen, we're going to be talking with Anthony tomorrow, and you can watch that show and all our shows by going on our Red On Demand button right on our homepage at brokersalliance.com. That's the buzz on the biz for today. Get in the zone, the business insurance zone.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.